Relax and unwind, for it is time for the Sacred Energy Exchange podcast. We came to talk about what's real, getting down to the nitty gritty of tantra, sex magic, sexual energy, relationships, dating, and all points in between. If sex is on your mind and you need to express what's on your mind, reach out to energysacred@gmail.com to be a part of the Sacred Energy Exchange podcast. Welcome to episode 1 of the Sacred Energy Exchange podcast. I'm the Hood Mystic, and today I am so honored to present to you Miss Nadia Atkinson as we discuss her erotic poetry series titled Lovers of a Libra. And we discuss everything there is to discuss mental when it comes to that sacred energy exchange. So just sit back, relax, take a sip of your favorite wine, close your eyes if you're at the crib. If you're riding, please do not close your eyes, even though you're going to be tempted. Wait till you get home, relax, kick your feet up, let her voice just take you away, man. And this is what we're going to tend to do on the Sacred Energy Exchange podcast. Another thing that I would like for you guys to do is mosey on over to loversofalibra.com to purchase a copy of this young lady's book. You have the ability to get it from Amazon. You could purchase a autographed copy. You could listen to her official Lovers of a Libra playlist on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. And she also has some bedroom candy on that site. So yeah, man, Lovers of a Libra is it's a book of short poems of the artist's imagination while performing everyday tasks. So there's some things about Mickey Mouse in there. There's some things about soap suds. It's one about the beer gang. It's, just everyday things, and, just taking it and flipping it and just turning it on its head, man. It is a wonderful book of art, because what it is like, I actually think like this myself, and this young lady was able to step out there and get it documented and write down my thoughts. It felt like, I'm a Libra rising, by the way, and really sexualize, like she exposed me, but it's just one of those books, man. It is, she sent me a free download, and I was able to just read through it, and it's something that I want to read through with my wife, and something for the couples, man. But don't let me talk you to death. Please stay tuned for the interview between me and Miss Nadia, and stay tuned for me at the end of this interview to discuss more with you. The Sacred Energy Exchange podcast, episode 1, proudly presents Nadia Atkinson, ladies and gentlemen. So peace, Nadia. You are an author of a poetry book, an erotic poetry book, and this is kind of right up my alley when trying to discover like spirituality and sexuality and that link. Did you find that link through discovering your sexuality and your spirituality and finding some balance? Because how growing up, and I don't know if you came from a religious background or not, where like religion will separate sex and it make you think that sex is evil, and then trying to reconcile that how is this process and discovering this have actually helped you?
Peace, first of all.
Peace.
Thank you for having me on your show. I definitely do appreciate it.
Sure.
And to dive right in, actually, yes, I did discover that I had this talent of being able to write erotic poetry through my spiritual awakening, if you will. I kind of started last year in April, just kind of being more conscious and aware of who I am as a Black female in this society, in this world. And I just started to take separate dates with myself every month. I went to Philadelphia just to kind of lock myself in a hotel, tour around the town. And I discovered that I wanted to challenge myself. And I knew that I had to go within first. And I just kind of became obsessed with self-love and self-healing and self-care. And that was what I did in Philly. And this book was birthed through that. And it didn't really entail the physical act of sex. It was more so mental, just to challenge myself, because in the past, and as you mentioned, I did have a religious upbringing. I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and then I channeled into a non-denominational Christian denomination. And then I was like, I can't do this. It's too many rules. I feel like I want to be free. I just want to have a clear idea of who I am and who God was to me, and it didn't align with what I was being taught. So that's how this whole process started. So, I never had the misconception that sex was evil. More so, you just have to be careful about who you're having it with, because sexual exchange is a real thing.
Facts.
But that's really all that it was. I just wanted to challenge myself as a writer, because my first book was a Christian self-help book. It was about men and women coming to Christ. As that avenue started to expand, I kind of just wanted to change and challenge myself a little bit deeper in writing. And that's how this book was born.
Okay, sweet. So Nadia, the process of writing a book, I think within all of us, we have that, I want to write a book someday. And very few of us actually take that step. So would you have any advice just on the back end before we kind of get to know you a little more? What advice would you give any individual and beginning to put out a book such as yourself?
I feel like a lot of people have a difficult time trying to figure out what they want to write, or they feel like they're incapable of writing. And I don't think that's true. I think everyone can articulate their own thoughts the best. So I encourage everyone to write. Just write, whether if it's in a pen and a pad or a notebook or a piece of paper. If you're in front of your computer, I think that's probably the best way to start, is to write, because a lot of people approach me and ask me to help them. And I can't write for people. I'm not going to be able to articulate your personal thoughts and feelings, the way that you can, in my opinion. I think that it's best to write it out, or record yourself speaking and then go from verbatim from that, because I did that for my second book. I did it all men, and it took a long time because you really have to type it all out and listen and replay, but it actually was pretty effective. It just took a little bit more time.
Okay.
I also knew a lot of self-published authors, so I, just talked to them and interviewed them, and discovered that was probably the best way I wanted to go as well, because it's a little bit more freedom. And then I chose Amazon as my platform, because it's a little cheaper and it's a lot more smoother than a traditional shopping your book around, trying to find publishing houses. Your book's going to be rejected. It'll easily discourage you.
Yeah.
So if you can do it yourself, I'll help anybody. I had to hire a graphic artist, I hired an editor, and I did a lot of the stuff myself, but I truly, truly, truly encourage everyone to start the basics, either recording yourself or writing your thoughts out first.
Thank you for that. And really,
you're welcome.
I just want to welcome you. My interview style, sometimes I just want to just jump right into the meat and then pull it back and then introduce you to the people. tell us about you. Tell us about what got you upon this path, upon, you know, authorship, and then, you know, lead us into the Lovers of Libra, and, you know, reading through some of this poetry. I'm like, you know, looking for a babysitter, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I want to know what brought you to this point to put out this body of art. And, you know, I want to kind of, you know, maybe if you're open to it, read a couple of poems towards the end of this, kind of to, you know, give us a preview, you know what I'm saying, of what a person may get if they would be like, why would I want to purchase this book? You know, I could explain it, but I'd rather you explain it. So would you mind?
Definitely. No, I don't mind.
Awesome.
I realized that I have to become a little bit more comfortable with the idea of reading the book. I feel like the book is not even my character, which is pretty interesting. You know, on a day-to-day basis, I'm not this person, and on the actual cover, it's a selfie of me with my ass on the cover, and I would have never did that in my life. Like,
okay,
you know
okay.
What I mean?
So I would like to know, like, who is it then?
It's like this alter ego, Dr. Fierce type of person.
How did you summons this alter ego? Was this an easy summons, or was it something that you had to work hard to conjure up?
I honestly just knew that I wanted to do something different. And initially, I didn't even intend on having myself on the cover. I really just wanted the poetry, and we created an emoji that was kind of like half angel, half devil, you know, emoji. And my graphic artist created this, and I said, that's not it. Like, I need something else to draw people in, you know. So I kind of just always wanted to do something different. I wanted to challenge myself and be different the entire process. So from beginning to end, when I started to write the book, like I said, I was just on this self-care journey. I just turned 33 in October. So I dedicated every month to taking myself out on 3 dates. It didn't matter what it entailed, whether if it was sitting by myself in a restaurant or sitting in my hotel smoking forever and ever and then getting high as hell and then writing this book. Like, it didn't matter what it was. I just knew that I had to embody this because I had an idea. I dealt in my past relationship with a lot of like deception and cheating, and I felt like this book made me secure when I was insecure at one point. So it allowed me to love myself in a way that I didn't realize that I needed to, because no one ever taught me that I was supposed to love myself first and then get into a relationship. You know what I mean? So this was a real pivotal point in my growth as a woman. I knew that I was always like this boss chick. I was very masculine. I always hung out with boys. I was a tomboy in school, you know, growing up. So it forced me to tap into a feminine side that I didn't even know exists. So now I'm growing comfortable with the idea of who that individual is. It could be Nadia for all I know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I totally wanted to go by an alias, but I was like, you know, this is me. You know, I can't think about anything else. It is who I am, but I just have to be comfortable expressing that sexual side of me out loud.
So that would naturally bring up the thought, how do you deal with how people may perceive you by revealing this side of you? You know, because this becomes taboo, you know, if certain people get their hands on this material and then they're like, you know, looking at you, and I don't know if you have children and all of the things that come with expressing your sexual self. Even though it's a part of you, you have to deal with a particular level of scrutiny. True. How would you process that?
So initially, I had a lot of people, because a lot of my followers were Christian based, and you know, they thought my page was being scammed, and I really marketed this really well, I have to say, whether if it was drawing people in with poetry or posting erotic poems or pictures, you know, different things. I kind of created this atmosphere to allow people to be content with who they are. Sex is not taboo. This is a natural thing. You know, how did we get here by sex? You know, I'm trying to allow people to understand that this is nothing to be uncomfortable with.
See, there you go. You hit the nail on the head. I'm disagreeing with you deeply. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. No, I feel you. Oh, good. So once I did that, and then my book signing was, you know, something completely different. I was like, you know, maybe I'll have it where everyone comes together and there's different things that they can tap into. I'll have dancers. I have this. It was just this whole production. And I said, you know, I just want to do a paint. I want to do a paint and sip. Let's keep it simple. I'll draw people in a different way. So, you know, everything went wrong that day, and I was able to take the stage and just speak from my heart, you know, and that allowed people to understand that this was deeper than just an erotic poetry book. It was a self-help book. You know, it's allowing people to kind of tune into who I believe my alter ego is what my IG page is Queen Goddess Hope. So it allows people to see who Queen Goddess Hope is. You know, it's no longer, this is Nadia Atkinson, it's Queen Goddess Hope. She is this completely new design woman, and she's content in her skin. She's happy with who she is. Like I said, I didn't have any sex during this book. So it has nothing to do with that. It was strictly mental. Yeah. So
that's kind of the idea of the podcast.
Exactly.
In the conversation, it's not physical. It's like creation and birth. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really powerful. I was going through a really rough time because I really just wanted to, quote unquote, find myself. And I wanted to be content with who I was all the time. I couldn't say that I was the same person with everybody, you know, and I feel like that's also a form of schizophrenia, in my opinion. If I can't be the same person around everybody all the time, then I feel like that's a problem. So I needed to channel that person.
Yo.
You know what I mean?
Yo, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Definitely, you're welcome.
Yeah. So but what it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're able to tap into other areas of life that you wouldn't normally tap into by channeling this primal sexual energy. And if I am correct, could you give us some indirect ways that working with your sexual energy has manifested?
Oh man. So I feel, all right, this is a lot.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna say it.
Let it go. So, that's what we're here for.
All right, I'm just gonna give you the idea of the book, and this is so funny. So I'm no longer in that relationship that I was in before when I was even writing the book, and the book was just released in March. So I'm no longer in that relationship, and it was a long-term relationship, but it just crippled my mind and my spirit. And I needed to go through that so I can get here. You know, no harm, no foul. I can't say that I wasn't to blame for stuff, you know, but I'm happy with this final product, because with that, I feel like I was able to reach out and find a whole species of people I didn't even know existed. You know, just being able to find souls that are like-minded, being able to even find your page on YouTube. I don't even know how I found it. You know, just being able to kind of hone in and listen to that on a daily basis when you were recording live every day. You know, that was me. As soon as I would wake up and sit in my desk, that was the first thing I wanted to do. So it just allowed me to manifest so much, as far as like I felt like I was in a prison, and now I feel free. You know, and I feel like mentally, physically, everything around me kind of just died out, and now it's like I'm just blossoming into this beautiful flower, and I'm happy with that. So I feel like I found my twin all of a sudden, like, and it's through this book, because I was on another podcast with him, and he just was like, I became celibate. I started reading this book. I felt like I knew you and I felt you, and you just made me want to be greater as a man, as a Black man. You know what I mean? And just
I could definitely see this. Yeah.
Oh man, it was just too powerful. You know, so it's things like that that make me feel like all of this was worth it. Everything that I went through, all of the feelings, all the nights that I was stuck in a hotel room intentionally, you know, it just birthed a completely new person. And I can say it taught me consistency, because I'm promoting the book the whole time but never had a finished product.
Right.
And it just taught me that I have to do things
Yeah. Now I
that
gotta
I said I was
finish
going to
it.
do. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Beautiful. And so, do you feel that sexual energy, if not understood intellectually, is the problem with sexual energy, whereas you've actually sat back with sex and had a conversation with sex, as opposed to diving into it? You know how many of us at young ages, we just dive into sex without ever having a real conversation with it. So I ask, how is the process, or what is the conversation with your sexual energy, if there is such a thing?
I absolutely. I believe energy is so real. I don't understand how people don't get it still. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it definitely comes in so many different forms. And you're absolutely right. I had to figure out in my mind, what do I like? What didn't I like? Because, you know, I did have prior years of sexual exchange, but I never understood that it was a lot deeper than what it was. It wasn't until, like I said, I was in these rooms and I'm just listening to tons of different frequencies and different R&B tunes, you know, just kind of getting into that mental space where I could be this person. So I think it is an issue when it is not understood. And I feel like people need to actually find out what they like, because I can easily think of what I do like, you know, during sex and say, yeah, that did make me feel good. You know, how can I channel that to say, I want to exude this kind of love, that same pleasure that I receive. I wanted to channel that, exude it in a form of love, but in a book. You know, I want people to feel that same energy. I want to be able to articulate that. I want to be able to put words down on paper and somebody could read it and actually feel that same exchange without me presently being there. So sexual energy is absolutely a real thing. And I think it's really important to find out what it is that you love on your own. Not to say that you necessarily touch yourself, but it's so much more deeper than physical, you know?
Yeah. And so,
I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did in a way.
Okay.
I just wanna open it up a little bit more. When you say that sex is beyond the physical, I guess we always feel like it's deeper than what it actually is. And taking this, and what I'm really trying to ask is that I see you stepping out of a physical process and putting it into air. And the title of this is The Lovers of Libra. And Libra is a particular air sign, in relationships. So if you were to, I guess, personify or magnify what that is, it is writing a book on love. I guess all books of poetry represent a level of Libran energy, you know. And so it's not in a vacuum, though. I know that you've actually created physical manifestations by working with this air energy. So what are the actual things beyond physical that represent sexual for the people in the back who've never even, even thought about beyond physical when it comes to sex? You know, some people, grown adults only think that sex is purely physical. Like that's the only thing that it possibly could be. I've had sexual experience with people who seem like sexual machines. It's not even there. Like they're not even there. So what is it beyond physical? Could you explain it or articulate it in such a way for the people in the back?
I don't know, honestly.
I don't either. That's why I'm asking.
Like, I don't know. That's too deep. Like, I know for me, it can be as simple as conversation. It could be as simple as just staring at someone, on some tantric love vibes, going deep and, just being able to feel that person. Like, I feel like you can have those types of bonds and conversations with anybody. You don't necessarily have to have that connection prior to that. You know, so like I said, I felt like I found my twin. I feel like we are capable to have conversations telepathically without any other thing being involved. Like, you know what I mean?
Right,
I really
right.
can't articulate it. I can't even really explain it. I just know that
Supernatural.
it's totally supernatural. It's
Mhm.
totally supernatural. I'm a
Mhm.
Libra, and I know I'm an air sign. I like to
Mhm.
flow and go. I like to, you
Mhm.
know, do all of these things, but I
Mhm.
feel like it's really important for me to be able to articulate my words in such a way, but I'm not able to do that when it comes to sexual energy.
Ooh, but you can write a book about it though, and like capture that moment in time. Even when you say like, you know, that's not even me. Like, I can't even identify with that person
I
that's
can't.
writing that. It's like, so you, and that's very spiritual in a way of
It is.
capturing the energy, because you'll never be able to recapture it. Like, you can't contrive it, but you did write it
No.
down and you published it, you know, and documented it. That is beautiful to even think about.
Yeah, I can't even, like, I'm really thinking about it. And it's funny because
Yeah.
someone had put me on the spot to read one
Mhm.
at a podcast I recently did, and I was laughing, like,
Mhm.
what? I can't
Wow.
even imagine that I wrote this. I have favorites, you know,
Mhm.
that I love in the book, but I can't even imagine my day-to-day persona being what this book is. It was that level of spirituality and just that energy that I was able to take in and embody. That was really powerful for me. I became addicted to it, which is really interesting too.
It's art.
Yeah.
I like, as you're speaking, a couple of things that are coming to mind. I have a question for you, but just to agree with what you're saying, it's like how I am with music. I don't know who that person is that make music, because I don't even know how to make music per chance. Like, I couldn't, like, I don't know anything about how to play an instrument or, you know, anything. It's just like, it's just an expression that just comes out of me. It's like just the force of energy that just comes out of me, and I can't, but I'm happy to record it and capture it when it comes. But it is something
And
like an
it's dope,
alter
too.
ego. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I have a question for you.
Sure.
In conjuring this sexual energy and understanding your sexual energy deeper, is there a link between how men treat you in your normal waking everyday life versus not dealing with your sexual energy and your interactions with men? Could you elaborate on the lightness and darkness of that situation?
Yeah, I can say for sure that it's been a mixed bunch of people. But I initially, people were like just shocked. Like I said, it's not who I am on a daily basis. So they're like, "Are you sure you wrote that? Is this really you on the cover? Like, what happened?" You know, and a lot of people were disappointed, and a lot of people didn't understand it, but they respect the fact that I followed through with things. That's number one. Number two, on my Instagram, my DMs have been psychotic for like the last 4 months. And a lot of the energy is very different. I thought it was going to be where people were blatantly disrespectful or saying crazy shit for no reason, you know, in my DMs, "Oh, I would like to," and I'm like, come on, don't make me have to be disrespectful back or have to curve you or educate you in a way that's going to blow your mind. You're going to be like, "I'm sorry" in the end. You know, like, I didn't want to go there, but it's been such a respectful journey. I can't even lie. Everyone approaches me with respect 9 times out of 10. And people are just like, I can't even imagine, like, this is a relationship book. I don't even want to read this without my girl. I don't want to read this without my man. You know what I mean? So, and then lately I've just been posting my self-care journey for the last, I want to say 45 days on Instagram. So it's allowing people to see that this wasn't just what they would say a sex book is. It's definitely a lot deeper than that. And because people are feeling like they're connecting with me on that aspect, they naturally respect Lovers of a Libra. You know what I mean? So I don't really have any negative stories to discuss, which is really awesome.
Right. That's beautiful. I was figuring when you true to your spirit, I don't think that they allow for those occurrences to happen. I'm a proponent
I
of
could
that.
agree with that.
And it might sound like hard to believe, and of course we might have ups and downs, but I would have to believe that being true to yourself is the best thing you could do to protect yourself in this world, you know, and honoring, you know, the unseen energies that, you know, precede you, you know, to if trouble is a brewing, it'll kind of avert you, you know, that you wouldn't even know that trouble was even about to happen, you know, and therefore you might go a whole day, you know, being completely protected and not even realize it, because that's how deep protection is, you know.
I agree. I always say that, you know, I had a quote on my desk at work that said, you know, you don't even know who was praying for you before you. You know, it could have been 10 times removed, 5 times removed, but just the simple fact that they were praying, you know, even if they were in a plantation or just in a terrible situation, you know, I pray my family doesn't have to go through what I went through.
Ever again.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, damn, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Exactly. So I definitely feel that. That type of protection.
Yeah. And I was only asking, could you, because I guess the second part of that question was, is there a difference? Could you tell the difference now versus before of not engaging in your sexual energy and kind of being like, you know, you just have no real knowing of self, or like you had spoke to earlier, knowing who to give your womb to? Like, how do you make that decision as a woman in 2019? I imagine it to be easy or difficult depending on how in tune you are at this stage of the game.
Absolutely. It's really powerful, to be honest, because I definitely notice a difference. I feel like men approach me now with more respect than they had before.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely agree to that. Secondly, when it comes to who I decide to share my womb with, my body with, you know, my mind with, it's just something that I weed out. You know, my dad always taught me to date. You know, there's nothing wrong with dating multiple people, because I need to find out who I decide that I want to be in their face all day, because, you know, that's naturally what happens. You just grow in love with people and you just kind of want to be around them all the time. You know, my dad always taught me that from the beginning. So I naturally just date, and then I kind of narrow it down. And then once I did or have decided on one, you know, it's a lengthy process. I'm not that girl to give up the goods, you know, just so easily, because I do respect people's, you know, my body more importantly, but just that energy. I guess I always was cognizant of that energy exchange. You know, like I said, I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, so that wasn't really, you know, they wanted you to save yourself for marriage. So it wasn't like the first thought that I would go to, like if I met someone, I don't naturally want to have sex with you first. I want to see what your mind is about. I want to see what kind of family you come from. You know, it's completely different. I've never been that kind of girl because of that religious aspect. Even to this day, you know, I don't resonate with any religion, but I do feel like I'm still very selective. Like, I know how many people I've slept with. You know what I mean? Like, it's that serious. Like, I've always taken that seriously. Right. And your body chemically reacts differently to every partner. I don't understand how people are doing this.
Yeah. Because if I look at the world now, I can kind of understand the purpose of not having sex until you're married. Like, I get that. Absolutely. Like, I don't feel like, oh, that they missed the mark with that one. I think that was pretty spot on, you know, as an instruction on if I was to have a daughter and I was like, you know, she asked me honest advice on sex, I would say you might want to hold off until you know that guy is gonna be somebody that you want to share your body with, you know, and you know, you just really want to be sure, you know, because if you're not really sure, you can kind of tell after so long of not factoring in who you're sharing your body with. I've never seen it manifest into anything positive. in an honest, I mean, not for that person, maybe for the child, and he grew up through adversity and through negativity, and maybe that was what was needed. But if we were to structure our families and design and base it upon love, I think we should wait. And I don't feel like nothing is wrong with waiting if I like you. If we, we're doing a whole bunch of things together, we have a lot of things in common, all right, let's wait to have sex. But say, for instance, we don't have anything in common, and that might be the only thing that I'm interested in, and that's where you get in trouble.
I think it's so true, though. I feel like our young kids today in the world, they kind of don't get that. I hear people are having sex at the young age of 12.
I've heard that, in middle school now. I heard it's normal.
Can't handle that. Nope.
Yeah, that's painful.
Nope. I don't have any children, and I know some of my friends also don't have children, but they're even in the mindset of that they don't even want to bring a child into the world because of things like that. I want to homeschool my kids.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Like, my children are homeschooled. In the mountains,
let's be out. Exactly. Yeah. I can't. I'm not doing it.
I refuse to do that to my children, like even at a kindergarten level at this point.
No.
It's hard even going to a birthday party now, it's just bad, because I don't know what happened. Oh, I guess I do know what happened. We decided to just have sex without, careful examination. So I just love what you're doing and what you're talking about and the message that you're bringing forth. Do you mind explaining the campaign, the social media campaign, and the book and how that came about? In specific, I know you touched on it throughout this interview, but was there a specific hashtag or a specific movement that kind of spurred you along? And how was the support during this campaign? And social media and products, have that been a beneficial tool for you?
That's an interesting question. I actually do a lot of research before I actually start any project.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wanted to understand the art of sexual exchange, and I wanted to understand how it is exuded in today's society, and that's how I found out about young, children having sex at 12. And, I just wanted to kind of gear it towards all adults. So what I started to do was kind of relate daily occurrences to my poetry. So I went on a wellness and yoga retreat for a day with a couple of my friends, and I had on a Mickey Mouse shirt. And I created a poem around Mickey Mouse because I thought I looked good in that picture. And I wanted to write a poem about Mickey. You know what I mean? So I called it Mickey A Lick Me. That was basically what the poem was called. And the fact that I could think of anything, whether it be the trees or car, just the gift of being able to translate sex from anything was really an art form for me. And I don't think people realize that I was capable of doing that because I never wrote poetry in public. I always did it in private. I've been writing since I was 6.
Mm-hmm.
So, just being able to kind of channel that energy from my childhood. I always knew I wanted to put out books, but I didn't realize that I would be putting out an erotic poetry book. And just following hashtags. Hashtags are big. It brings so many people to my page. They DM me, I found you through a hashtag. So I know that they're important. So, it was really important for me to just post a lot of hashtags. And I was fighting with Facebook for a little while because I am big on advertising, through Facebook ads, because I used to have a Shopify online store. So I knew that we used to do Facebook ads for that, but I said, maybe I can do it for like my post on Instagram. But because it was geared towards an erotic nature, they wouldn't approve them. And I'm not censoring my book for some society that runs the world. I'm not doing that. I need to stand out as an individual on my own. So that's when I started getting a little bit more creative with the hashtags, because I feel like whether if I put self-care journey, tarot, or, you know, it doesn't matter what I put. If I put spirituality, people of that same demographic and the frequency that I'm on are going to gravitate towards my page. So that's exactly what I did.
True.
So that's how I was it. It was hashtags. It was just the idea that I can create an erotic poem from anything that I'm looking at the time. Like, one of my favorite poems in a book is called Soap Suds. And it's basically just
I'm looking at that right now, page 35 right now. Go ahead.
Man, 35 and 50. Oh yeah, 35 is pretty lit. But you gotta look at 51. It's like my favorite.
51. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically a poem about a woman washing the dishes and channeling that sexual energy until her husband actually walks in the house, and then they now share a sexual exchange while their kids are sleeping. Like, that's so practical and so daily, you know what I mean? And just being able to kind of get that energy out there. And I've never seen a poem like that, you know, and I did a lot of research. And usually when I'm writing a book or working on a project, I never read or listen to anyone else's art, never. And this time I did all of that. I was listening to music. I was listening to, you know, YouTube videos and reading books and reading about sex and listening to music about sex. I created a whole playlist that's available on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify.
I see that. Yeah,
I have so many avenues, that I want to cover, because I wanted people to be comfortable with it, because, like, people don't want to talk about it all the time, and I'm like, so what?
Yeah, why not?
You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, you want to talk about basketball right now? Okay, like,
I don't care about that.
You be on a date. Like, I'm on a date talking, you know. I remember this one girl wanted to talk about football with me, and I'm just like, no, I can't do this. I can't do this with you. I don't want to talk about football. But yeah.
Like, so relevant. And I think it's important, now that you say that, I think it's important for two people who are getting to know each other before they have sex to actually understand what it is they like, what they don't like. You know, I think you need to be on the same page at all times. People just have it, and they like, oh, it sucks. How you know? You ain't even double back to make sure it was good or not. You know, did you understand what was done? Do you understand? Did you have a conversation about it? You know, I like this. I don't like that. Make sure that, you know, people are scared. So what? You're sharing the most intimate parts of your body with somebody.
In the future.
How could you be scared?
Yeah, because you didn't talk about it, because you didn't have the conversation to disarm yourself, you know. Imagine how many times people have entered into sexual relations without having a conversation. You just kind of, you know, like it's a pool or something. You just cannonball into the thing, you know, and it's just like, wait a second, you know, and this is normal life for, you know, a lot of people.
12-year-olds.
Yeah, you know, grown 12-year-olds now at this point, you know, it's amazing. So I have a question. Are you an 80s baby, 90s baby?
I'm an 80s baby.
You're an 80s baby. So do you know if your Pluto is in Libra? You know your chart at all?
I do know. I don't know it off the back of my hand, but I can tell you.
Yeah, I think that your Pluto is in Libra. Okay, what year were you? Early 80s, late? I don't know how people don't want to so much give
Scorpio. So it's pretty close.
Pluto and Scorpio. Okay, I was just trying to figure out where your Pluto is at, because when I hear you talk, and what I tend to do when you talk as a practice of listening, I close my eyes, so the only thing that I can really focus in on is your voice, right? And you're very descriptive when you talk, so you know, once you start talking about Mickey Mouse, I start imagining you in like a Mickey Mouse shirt, and you know, and before you say it's sexual, it's already sexual. Like, you know, it's kind of a thing. But as you were talking and I was closing my eyes and visualizing your words, I feel like you're like a couples therapist, you know. If you could just, you know, get both of them to just close their eyes and just, you know, follow your voice. And Are you into like hypnotism or things of that nature, or ASMR, or, you know, the using your mind or subconscious mind control? Have you ever done anything like that, like really projected your voice in that way?
I never have, but I laugh because I was always interested in doing therapy. I actually went to school for psychology, and because of all of the loan limits and everything, I had to stop. So I feel like me sharing on a daily basis is me conducting therapy with the world, you know, on Instagram. That's funny.
Yeah, cause that's the whole reason I asked, like, are you a Pluto and Libra? Because Pluto and Libra are where you get like the therapists and the psychologists, but really in relationships, like really cultivating and helping people relate better to one another. And I find that if you were to have that intention, like I want to help people because I can, you'll be very successful in any choice that you make in that area. So yeah, this book, man, it's been a wonderful conversation. Do you have any particular poem that you would like to read for us, or kind of speak to, that kind of can help the people, or just exemplify sacred energy exchange? Any poem, a new poem, a freestyle, you know, we just kind of want to put you on the spot, and feel free to decline, but we definitely want to, you know, hear with this book. You know, we've been speaking up this book the whole time, and I've been talking to you, you've been talking to me, I've been reading the book, you know, and I'm excited for people to, you know, dive into this book. But, you know, can we get a little preview?
Yeah, you know what? I actually want to read page 75. It's a poem called Power.
Okay.
And my thoughts around power were very interesting because I felt like I know I am a god. You know, I am powerful. And I understand the power that I do have when I am in a relationship or interacting with people of the same and opposite sex. But specifically with this book, you know, overall my thought was about my power, knowing that my womb holds power, knowing that someone could be easily sucked into that power just by that sacred exchange. So I wouldn't mind reading Power today. So here it goes.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so it says Power. Power is when I envision myself. No, let me start again. All right, Power. Power is when I envision me touching myself, thinking about what cologne you may wear. Power is when I envision me running my fingers up my thighs, thinking about what you feel like inside of me. Power is when I envision my fingers entering my thick pussy lips, thinking about your tongue flicking my clit. Power is when I envision you kissing me deep, thinking about you being in me forever. Power is when I refuse to come, thinking about you pounding like the beat of a drum. Power is when I refuse to come, thinking about you choking me, telling me to come. Power is when stubbornness gets in the way, thinking about me nutting on your face. Power is when you're quenched with thirst, thinking about you enslaved to me while you thirst. And that's power.
Hell yeah. Yo, because these are all things that, like, I imagine when, like, you want to be subdued by a woman, like, on an intellectual level, like, you want her to kind of mount you, or you want that, like, retention, or that struggle, or that harmony through conflict. And as you battle through those ranks, you gain that power. And that's the real power, you know, because you worked for it and you really developed it and cultivated it through kind of the education of sex. So that's real power. Yeah, I like that a lot, man. that's something right up my alley. It's on the intellectual level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you blessed me with the book, but I want just tell people about the book, like summarize the book. Where can I get the book, the name of the book, the author? Just don't want them to miss out on it.
Absolutely. So the book is currently available on loversofalibra.com. I have both the printed version and the PDF version available online currently. I also have them available on Amazon, both Kindle and a printed version. If it comes from my website, then, I'll autograph it and write like a personalized message.
Peace.
Oftentimes, I'm able to channel what that person is feeling. So I'm able to write a message for that person. Sometimes it has something to do with the book itself, and other times it's just something that they need to hear that I can feel. Mm-hmm. So, that's basically what it is. The book comes with a playlist. It's not necessary to listen to it. It's just some of the songs that helped me to write the book.
Yeah.
So I wanted to list that, which I said is also available on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. So the book is basically 33 erotic poems that I chose to have a year for each of my life. So I'm currently 33, so I wrote 33 poems. And it's basically just allowing you to channel that, like I said, sexual energy. You necessarily don't have to, read it alone. I feel like it's really best with couples. It allows people to kind of be in tune with one another and take turns reading it. There is a lot of vulgarity in the word, in the poems. And I feel like if you're already sharing that exchange with someone who you're already being vulgar with, then why not?
Yeah, you're committing a vulgar act. So if you can't have these kind of conversations with that person, why would you even take it to the next step? It's a real clear indication, because even when I have sex with my wife, it's a level of this is kind of evil, it's that, this is kind of bad. Like, it just feels, especially like if it's good or she do something real freaky, like, oh yeah, this is something bad. This is badass. You know what I'm saying? So, but the conversations though, it really heightens it. Or if she says something, like, oh, that's how you feeling, so yeah. I really do like the idea of conversation around sex without physical implications or pressure, or just having a conversation on the level and really intellectualizing sex, and maybe it could really help not only that individual but couples who struggle with this part, lovers of a Libra, the air part of sex, because there's more than just the physical part. It's the emotional aspect and the mental aspect, but you nailed down the mental aspect. Like these 33 poems, it don't feel like 33 poems because they longer than a page, so it it's very meaty. You say 33, but it's that's not even a number for limits. That's just a perfect title. It's like 33 erotic poems. It's like a title more than it is a number count, because the energy that's coming off these pages is limitless. And that's not even, I could feel the energy, and then just having this full conversation and being able to present it to the people. You're going to help people, and you're going to help relationships. And when you help relationships, you're helping the youth to grow up in loving households. So, beyond all things, learning to love one another is helping us financially, it's helping us emotionally, and it's helping us spiritually. So with that, I just want to thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm really honored, to be able to build. I'm able to tell my story, because some people still take it the wrong way.
And I'm happy that you're able to push through that, and I'm honored to make this, my first episode, and just kind of working through my content. Like, your message and you kind of need to be the pinnacle of what I'm trying to do with this podcast. So if you're able, we'd love to have you on to talk about this a little bit more, couple months down the line, just to check in on you, see how you going with your journey, and kind of make this a thing. I enjoy talking to you.
Absolutely. I'm definitely open to that. I love talking. So.
Yeah. Lovers of a Libra, baby. Like, if you'll, like, that's the thing, the talking piece. But it's a beautiful thing if we're able, if we're in a safe space. And that's what I think we created.
Absolutely.
We've created a safe space to be able to have these conversations. And I appreciate you and honored by your ability to do that, because a lot of women can't do that, and I appreciate you for that. I really just want to thank y'all for tuning in for episode 1 of the Sacred Energy Exchange podcast. If you are interested in being a guest on the Sacred Energy Exchange podcast, please feel free to email me at hoodmystic@gmail.com. Follow us on the Sex Podcast on Instagram. Make sure you visit loversofalibra.com for all things related. Lovers of a Libra. Make sure you get an autographed copy of this book. You understand what I'm saying? Share this video. Like, share, and subscribe. Do all the good stuff, man, that you need to do to support these independent creators. Support that book, support this podcast, support yourself, man. This has been episode 1 of the Sacred Energy Exchange podcast, and I pray that we didn't disappoint. So without further ado, I'll let you get back to your day. Stay tuned for episode 2 because it's on the way. Peace.